Have you ever woken from a dream that felt more real than life itself? A dream so vivid, so haunting, that it refused to let you go? This is the story of a boy who listened to such a dream. A boy who left behind his flock of sheep in Spain, crossed an ocean, wandered through deserts, faced thieves, found love, and stood before the Egyptian pyramids, all for the promise of a hidden treasure. But here's the twist. The real treasure was never what he thought. And maybe, just maybe, his journey will show you where your own treasure has been hiding all along. Some books arrive in your life like a lightning bolt. Others arrive like a whisper. The Alchemist is both. The first time I encountered Paulo Coelho's novel, I remember the strange sensation that it was not telling me something new, but reminding me of something ancient, something I had once known and forgotten. That is its magic. On the surface, the story is simple, almost like a fairy tale you could tell a child. And yet, beneath the simplicity, there are echoes of philosophy, spirituality, and raw human longing. When you read it, you may feel as though the pages are mirrors. Each scene reflects back to you not just Santiago's journey, but your own. Every doubt he faces is a doubt you have carried. Every spark of hope he nurtures is a spark you have once felt, perhaps quietly, perhaps long ago. The book is about a shepherd chasing treasure, yes, but really, it is about that treasure we all secretly seek. The life that feels alive, meaningful, full of purpose. Paulo Coelho calls it the personal legend. You might call it your destiny, your calling, your dream. Whatever the name, the feeling is universal. And so, in this retelling, I don't want to merely summarize. I want to walk alongside Santiago, step by step, and invite you into the desert with him. At each turn, I'll pause, reflect, and ask, what does this mean for us? Because The Alchemist is not only his story, it is ours. Welcome to Mind Spark, where great books meet powerful ideas. Chapter 1. The Dream. We begin in the hills of Andalusia, Spain. The air is crisp, the horizon wide, and a boy named Santiago tends to his flock of sheep. He is a shepherd not by accident but by choice. He once studied to be a priest, following the wishes of his family, but his heart craved freedom. And so he chose the life of a wanderer with animals for company. It is not glamorous, but it is alive. Each day he walks through fields, reads his books while the sheep graze, and lets curiosity guide him from one village to the next. Already, there is a lesson here. Many of us dismiss small choices as insignificant, but Santiago's decision to leave the church school and become a shepherd is monumental. It is his first act of courage, his first step toward living authentically. He chose his own path, not the one handed to him. And perhaps you can relate. Maybe you once chose a major, or a job, or a city that others questioned. Maybe you too have felt that rush of freedom when you listen to your own voice instead of someone else's expectations. Santiago seems content. And yet, contentment is not the same as fulfillment. Deep inside, he senses something more calling to him. That more arrives in the form of a dream. On 2 different nights, Santiago dreams the same thing. In the dream, a child takes him by the hand, leads him to the Egyptian pyramids, and says, "If you come here, you will find a hidden treasure." Just as the dream reaches its climax, Santiago wakes up, frustrated, heart pounding, unable to see exactly where the treasure is. Now think about this. Have you ever woken from a dream that felt more real than reality? One that stayed with you for days, even years? That is Santiago's experience. He cannot ignore it. He senses, though he cannot explain why, that the dream carries a message. Still, he hesitates. The rational part of him argues, "It's only a dream. Don't be foolish. Stay with the sheep." But the restless part of him whispers, "What if it's true?" Here lies one of the book's first great truths. Our deepest longings rarely arrive fully formed. They appear as fragments, whispers, half-dreams. The mind demands proof. The heart says, "Trust." And it is in that tension, between doubt and desire, that Santiago stands. Unable to shake the feeling, Santiago visits a gypsy woman known for interpreting dreams. Her little room smells of incense and mystery. She listens to his story, then declares, "Go to the pyramids. That is where your treasure lies." She even asks for a tenth of whatever he finds. Santiago laughs nervously. He wants to believe, but skepticism tugs at him. Egypt is far. The idea is absurd. Yet he leaves the room with a strange mixture of fear and excitement. Sometimes belief begins not with certainty, but with possibility. And possibility soon takes flesh in the form of an old man, the king of Salem. Sitting in a plaza, Santiago meets a figure who will change everything. Melchizedek, the king of Salem. To others, he appears as just an eccentric old man. But to Santiago, he is luminous. He knows things he should not know. Santiago's dream, his flock, even his innermost desire for adventure. At first, Santiago suspects trickery, but Melchizedek speaks with such authority that doubt dissolves. He introduces Santiago to the idea of a personal legend. "It's what you have always wanted to accomplish," the king explains. Everyone, when they are young, knows what their personal legend is. But as time passes, a mysterious force convinces them it will be impossible. Pause here. Let that sink in. When you were a child, what did you want to be? An astronaut? A dancer? A writer? A hero? Children rarely censor their dreams. But as we age, we learn fear. We learn practicality. We learn to shrink our visions. Melchizedek is naming this tragedy, the quiet abandonment of our legends. Santiago listens, torn between the comfort of his flock and the fire in his chest. The king leans closer and delivers the line that would echo around the world. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. It is not a promise of ease. It is a promise of alignment. That if you dare to move toward your dream, forces will arise, chance encounters, opportunities, guidance to assist you. But only if you begin. The king then gives Santiago 2 stones, Urim and Thummim, black and white. They are simple, ordinary to the eye, but symbolic. Tools for reading omens when uncertainty clouds his path. More than objects, they are reminders that the universe is speaking, always, if we learn to listen. This moment captures the delicate balance between faith and action. Santiago cannot simply wish for treasure. He must sell his flock, leave his land, step into the unknown. The stones are reassurance, not replacement. They say, "You will not walk alone, but you must walk." And so Santiago decides. The leap. Selling his sheep is not easy. They are his companions, his livelihood, his security. To let them go is to let go of stability. But he does it. He gathers the money, clutches the stones, and sets his face toward the horizon. As he boards the ship to Africa, excitement battles fear inside him. He feels alive in a way he has never felt before. And this too is a lesson. Life begins at the edge of comfort. The pasture was safe, but it was also predictable. The desert is terrifying, but it pulses with possibility. I often think of Santiago at this moment when I'm about to start something risky. A move, a project, a relationship. There is always that trembling. Am I foolish? Am I reckless? And yet, deep inside, there is also that small, steady voice. Go. Santiago goes, and with that, the shepherd becomes a seeker. The story, and our own reflection in it, has only just begun. Chapter 2. The Fall and the Crystal Merchant. Santiago arrives in Tangier with a sailor's nervous excitement. The port city is buzzing with languages he cannot understand, clothes he has never seen, and food whose spices burn his nose. The colors are dazzling. The call to prayer rings out from a nearby mosque, foreign yet strangely magnetic. He feels both exhilarated and small. The sheep are gone. The fields of Andalusia are far away. Here, he is just another boy among strangers, clutching his coins and his dream. And that dream is fragile. He sits at a cafe, sipping tea, trying to gather courage for the next step of his journey. A friendly-looking young man approaches. He speaks a little Spanish, enough to ask where Santiago is from, where he is going. Santiago, relieved to hear familiar words, explains everything. The treasure, the pyramids, the journey ahead. The young man smiles and offers to help. Here. Pause. Haven't we all been here? In a new place, overwhelmed, and someone appears who seems to offer exactly what we need? Trust feels natural. And yet, as Santiago will learn, trust without discernment can be costly. The boy leads him through winding streets, promising to guide him to the pyramids. But as they weave through the market stalls, Santiago's attention is caught by the swirl of colors, the scents of grilled meat, the clamor of voices. He is distracted, dazzled. In that moment, the boy disappears, and with him, Santiago's money. The loss is devastating. In one careless act, Santiago's dream crumbles. The coins he worked for, the flock he sacrificed, the hope that had carried him across the sea, all gone. He stumbles into the streets, frantic, searching for the thief, but the crowd is vast, the alleys endless. Reality hits him with a thud. He is alone, penniless, in a country where he cannot speak the language. The dream that felt destined now feels like mockery. And here lies one of the most painful truths of chasing a dream. The fall often comes early. Before the glory, there is humiliation. Before the treasure, there is loss. It is almost as if life asks, "How badly do you want this?" Santiago spends the night weeping against the walls of a strange marketplace. His body trembles with hunger and fear. He thinks of returning home, of giving up. But then he remembers Melchizedek's words. When you want something, the universe conspires in helping you. Could this betrayal be part of the conspiracy? Could it be a test, not an end? The next morning, still aching, Santiago makes a decision. If he cannot return, he must move forward. He looks around, notices a crystal shop up on a hill, its glassware dusty and neglected. He climbs the slope and offers to clean the merchant's glasses in exchange for food. The merchant, weary and skeptical, agrees. By evening, after Santiago's labor, the glasses gleam in the sunlight. Customers notice. They enter. They buy. For the first time in weeks, the merchant earns money. He looks at Santiago, surprised by the boy's initiative, and offers him work. And so begins one of the most important chapters in Santiago's life, his apprenticeship in resilience. Lessons in the crystal shop. The crystal merchant is an old man who has grown tired of dreams. His shop is small, his ambitions smaller. Once he too dreamed of traveling to Mecca, but years passed, and the dream remained only that, a dream. Now he runs the shop not out of passion but out of habit. Santiago brings with him fresh eyes and energy. He suggests new ideas, displaying crystal outside to attract more customers, serving tea in crystal glasses to increase sales. Each suggestion jolts the merchant, who resists at first but eventually agrees. And each time, the results are remarkable. Sales increase. The shop flourishes. The merchant benefits, but so does Santiago. He begins to rebuild his faith, not only in money, but in himself. He realizes that even in failure he can rise, that even in foreign soil he can create value. This is where the book delivers another profound lesson. Your dream will test you, but it will also train you. Santiago lost everything, but the crystal shop teaches him skills he never would have learned otherwise. Patience, innovation, persistence. It is as if the universe is sharpening him, preparing him for the desert ahead. I find this chapter deeply relatable. How many times have you or I pursued a goal only to be knocked flat by failure? Maybe it was a business that collapsed, a relationship that broke, a plan that disintegrated. In those moments, the temptation is to see the failure as final. But Santiago shows us a different path, to treat failure as apprenticeship, to ask, what am I being taught here that I will need later? The merchant's regret. The more time Santiago spends in the shop, the more he learns about the merchant himself. The old man is not cruel. He is simply afraid. He tells Santiago that he has always dreamed of going to Mecca, to fulfill his religious duty. But he never goes. Why? Because he is afraid that once the dream is realized, he will have nothing left to live for. This is heartbreaking, but also illuminating. The merchant clings to his dream as a dream, not as a reality. It gives him comfort in longing but no joy in fulfillment. And here lies another lesson. Some people prefer dreaming to doing. The danger of this mindset is subtle but deadly. It tricks us into thinking we are faithful to our dreams because we keep them alive in our imagination. But in truth, we are betraying them because we never dare to act. Santiago listens and learns. He realizes he does not want to become like the merchant, someone who chooses comfort over courage, someone who lets fear of disappointment paralyze him. And so, after almost a year of work, Santiago has saved enough money to return to Spain and buy a flock of sheep larger than the one he sold. He could end the adventure here, wealthier than before, wiser than before, but his heart tells him otherwise. The dream of the pyramids still burns. The treasure still calls. This is another crucial crossroads. Safety tempts him. Logic argues for it. But destiny whispers louder. And Santiago chooses again to follow the whisper. The value of setbacks. Let me pause here and reflect, because this chapter carries immense weight for us in everyday life. Think of Santiago's journey as a metaphor for any pursuit. Starting a company, writing a book, moving to a new city, falling in love. In almost every case, the initial excitement collides with early failure. You lose money, or confidence, or both. You question everything. Most people stop there. They retreat. They say, it wasn't meant to be. But if you push through, if you keep going, even in humiliation, that is when growth begins. Santiago's year in the crystal shop is not wasted time. It is training. He learns the discipline of building, the creativity of selling, the resilience of enduring. Without that year, he would not survive the desert ahead. So the lesson is this. When life detours you, don't assume you are lost. Assume you are being prepared, leaving again. With money in his pouch and determination in his heart, Santiago leaves Tangier behind. The streets that once terrified him now seem almost friendly. The mosque's call to prayer no longer confuses him. It reminds him that life is larger than his own story. He sets out to join a caravan crossing the Sahara Desert toward Egypt. Ahead lies hardship, yes, but also promise. The boy who once wept penniless in the market now walks taller, carrying not just coins, but confidence. And as the caravan stretches into the horizon, Santiago feels the pulse of a truth he is only beginning to understand. The treasure may lie beneath the pyramids, but the real treasure lies in becoming the kind of person who dares to seek it. Chapter 3. The Caravan and the Desert. The caravan gathers like a restless tide at the edge of Tangier. Camels kneel under heavy loads, their long lashes blinking against the sun. Traders haggle. Families embrace. Guides shout instructions. The air hums with the tension of departure. For many, this crossing is routine. For Santiago, it is the threshold to destiny. He feels a mixture of awe and unease. Ahead stretches the Sahara, a sea of sand so vast it seems to swallow the horizon. One mistake in its heart can mean death. And yet, he is drawn, because the pyramids lie beyond. The treasure lies beyond. And so, with his pouch of coins and his memory of sheep, he steps into the unknown once more. Meeting the Englishman. Among the travelers is an Englishman, older than Santiago, scholarly and eccentric. He carries not sheep or spices, but books, thick volumes filled with alchemy, the ancient science of transformation. His eyes burn with the hunger of knowledge. At first, Santiago is puzzled. Why would a man drag heavy books across a desert when he could bring food, water, or gold? But the Englishman insists. Within these pages lie the secrets of the universe, the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life, the ability to turn lead into gold. They strike up a conversation. Santiago shares his dream, his loss, his time with the crystal merchant. The Englishman listens, intrigued, and begins to explain alchemy. But his explanations are dense, full of symbols and cryptic terms. Santiago struggles to follow, and yet something in the man's passion awakens him. He realizes there are languages beyond words, truths hidden in symbols. The Englishman, in turn, envies Santiago's simplicity. He studies endlessly but struggles to act. Santiago, though less learned, has the courage to move. Here, the story presents a beautiful contrast: knowledge without action, and action without knowledge. True wisdom, we are reminded, requires both. The silence of the desert. As the caravan begins its long trek, the rhythm of the desert takes over. Days are marked by scorching heat, nights by biting cold. The sand shifts endlessly, swallowing footprints, erasing paths. Silence stretches wide, broken only by the groan of camels and the whisper of wind. At first, Santiago is restless. He wants conversation, distraction. But slowly, he begins to hear something else. The language of the desert itself. He notices the patterns in the stars, the moods of the wind, the omens hidden in small events. Here the book delivers another profound idea. The universe is always speaking, not in words, but in signs. Most of us are too noisy to notice. Santiago, stripped of noise, begins to listen. And this is a lesson for us as well. How often do we drown in screens, in chatter, in busyness? How often do we miss the subtle whispers of intuition, the coincidences that nudge us, the small signals that could guide us? The desert teaches Santiago, and us, to slow down, to notice, to trust the signs. Friendship and faith. The caravan itself is a microcosm of humanity. Traders dream of profit, pilgrims of Mecca, lovers of reunion. Each person walks with a purpose, small or large. Santiago realizes he is not alone in seeking a legend. Everyone, in their own way, carries a treasure inside them. At night, around the fires, he listens to their stories. Some speak of hardship, others of miracles. He feels his heart expand, connecting to lives far beyond his own. And here lies another lesson. Our dreams are personal, but they are not isolated. We are part of a greater tapestry. Your courage inspires mine. My story strengthens yours. The caravan also teaches Santiago patience. Progress is slow. Each day feels the same. But beneath the monotony, there is movement. Each step, though small, brings him closer. And this is perhaps the hardest truth of pursuing any dream. It rarely unfolds in fireworks. More often, it unfolds in steady, unseen steps. Omens and the language of the world. One evening, Santiago watches the desert sky blaze with stars. He remembers the stones, Urim and Thummim, given to him by Melchizedek. He has not used them often, preferring to trust his own intuition. And now he begins to realize the real treasure of the stones is not in giving answers, but in teaching him to listen. The Englishman, meanwhile, pores over his books, searching for the secret formula of alchemy. He grows frustrated, muttering about symbols and codes. Santiago wonders aloud if perhaps the answers are not only in books, but also in the desert itself, in the omens around them. The Englishman scoffs, but Santiago feels the truth stirring. Here, the novel delivers another core theme, the language of the world. It is the silent communication between all things, between man and nature, dream and reality, soul and soul. To hear it, one must open the heart. I remember when I first read this passage, I closed the book and sat in silence. Could it be true that life speaks, not in words but in patterns? That when the right person enters your life, when an opportunity appears, when a coincidence shocks you, these are not random but whispers of alignment? Santiago is learning to trust that possibility. The fear of war. Not all is peaceful. Rumors spread through the caravan of tribal wars breaking out in the desert. Fear creeps into the travelers. Some want to turn back, but the caravan leader remains calm. The desert is a capricious lady, he says, but she always guides us to where we must go. Santiago absorbs this wisdom. Fear does not disappear, but it need not control. He realizes that just as the desert erases footprints, it also erases certainty. To walk forward requires faith. Faith in the path, in the omens, in the whisper of the heart. And perhaps you too have faced such deserts, moments where the path ahead seemed dangerous, where fear tempted you to retreat. Santiago reminds us, courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to keep moving anyway. The caravan is life. As weeks turn into months, the caravan becomes more than a journey. It becomes a metaphor for life itself. People fall ill, some leave, some die. New travelers join. The sands shift, storms rage, but the caravan endures. Each day feels ordinary, yet the distance covered is extraordinary. Santiago reflects on his own path. He remembers the betrayal in Tangier, the year in the crystal shop, the decision to continue. All of it seems purposeful now, as if each step was preparing him for this silence, this vastness, this listening. He begins to feel that he himself is part of the desert, part of the caravan, part of the language of the world. And that realization fills him with quiet strength, the power of slow journeys. Let me pause here. In our age of instant gratification, this chapter feels almost radical. We are conditioned to want speed, quick success, fast answers, immediate gratification. But Santiago's Caravan teaches the opposite, that greatness is forged slowly. Think of the caravan as your own journey. Maybe you are building a career, a relationship, a skill. Each day may feel repetitive. Each step may feel small. But look back after months, after years, and you will see the vast desert you have crossed. The desert humbles us. It reminds us that patience is not passivity. Patience is active faith. To keep walking, step by step, even when nothing seems to change, that is courage. Toward the oasis, eventually, after endless days of sand and silence, the caravan approaches an oasis, a place of water, palm trees, and life in the heart of the desert. For Santiago, it is more than relief. It is a symbol that even in the harshest landscapes, refreshment appears. He feels anticipation rising, because it is at the oasis that destiny will introduce him to love. But that is for the next chapter. For now, he walks with the caravan, grateful, humbled, and more attuned than ever to the whispers of the world. The shepherd has become a student of the desert, and the desert has only begun its lessons. Chapter 4. The Oasis and Fatima. After weeks of silence, dust, and endless sand, the caravan finally reaches the oasis. For the weary travelers, it is a miracle. Palm trees swaying against the sky, clear water glittering in the sun, shade and rest after the monotony of desert life. Children laugh, women draw water, camels drink deeply. For a moment it feels like the desert itself is smiling. For Santiago, the oasis is not just relief, it is destiny unfolding. Because here, among the palms and wells, he will encounter something as powerful as treasure: love. The first glance, it happens in an ordinary way, as extraordinary things often do. Santiago is waiting with other men of the caravan when he sees a young woman approach the well. She is dressed in the flowing garments of the desert, her face framed by a scarf, her eyes radiant. She carries herself with quiet grace, and when she lowers her jug to fill it with water, Santiago feels his heart stop. The boy who once herded sheep in Spain, who crossed seas and deserts chasing a dream, is suddenly pierced by another dream. A dream not of gold or pyramids, but of companionship, intimacy, home. He stares, stunned, until she notices him. Their eyes meet, and something passes between them. Something wordless, ancient, undeniable. In that instant, Santiago knows, this is the woman I have been waiting for. And perhaps you know this feeling too. That moment when you meet someone and time bends. Logic has no place there. The heart simply recognizes. Her name is Fatima, the language of love. Santiago begins to speak with her, halting at first. But soon the words flow. He tells her about his journey, his sheep, his dream. She listens, smiling shyly, her eyes bright. Each word feels unnecessary, because their hearts seem to understand each other without them. This is what Paulo Coelho calls the language of love, a language older than words, spoken by hearts, recognized instantly. Santiago realizes he is not merely infatuated, he is encountering something profound. And here lies another lesson. Love, real love, is not built only on appearances or convenience. It is recognition. It is the sense that you have found a piece of yourself in another. The dilemma. But with love comes conflict. Santiago is torn. The pyramids still call to him. The treasure is still his destiny. And yet, how can he leave Fatima? How can he risk losing the one thing that feels more precious than gold? He imagines staying. He could live in the oasis, marry Fatima, raise children, and forget the pyramids. It would be safe, sweet, and enough, wouldn't it? But then his heart stirs uneasily. Because deep inside he knows. To abandon his personal legend would mean abandoning himself. The very love he treasures would sour, because he would no longer be whole. Here, the novel strikes at a universal fear. The fear that love and purpose cannot coexist. That to follow your dream means to lose your beloved, and to stay with your beloved means to sacrifice your dream. How many of us wrestle with this? We ask, can I pursue my career and still nurture my relationship? Can I chase adventure and still honor love? Can I be true to myself without betraying another? Santiago's struggle is ours. Fatima's wisdom. One day, he confesses his turmoil to Fatima. He tells her of his dream, his treasure, his fear of leaving her behind. He expects tears, pleas, perhaps anger. Instead, Fatima surprises him with words that will mark his heart forever. She says, I want you to go. Because if you stay, you will lose your dream. And if you lose your dream, you will lose yourself. And if you lose yourself, you will cease to love me truly. Real love never holds you back. Real love waits. Think of the depth of that. True love is not possession. It is partnership with destiny. It does not chain the beloved but releases them, confident they will return stronger, fuller, truer. Fatima's wisdom is staggering, especially for a young woman in a desert oasis. She teaches Santiago, and us, that the highest form of love is not clinging, but supporting. Not fear, but faith. I find this moment one of the most beautiful in the novel. It challenges the common story that love demands sacrifice of self. Instead, it proposes that the greatest gift you can give someone is the freedom to pursue who they are meant to be. The omen of war. While Santiago wrestles with matters of the heart, another challenge looms. In the Oasis, he begins to read the omens of the desert more clearly. One day, while watching the flight of hawks, he has a vision. Armies will attack the Oasis. Fear grips him. Should he trust this vision, or dismiss it as imagination? Remembering the lessons of Melchizedek and the stones, he chooses to trust. He warns the chieftains of the Oasis. At first they doubt him, but his sincerity convinces them. They prepare. And when the enemy does indeed attack, the Oasis is ready. The attackers are defeated, the people saved. For Santiago, this is confirmation. He is learning the language of the world. The universe truly speaks through omens, and when one listens, one becomes part of its flow. Love and destiny. Let's pause here. Santiago's experience at the Oasis teaches two intertwined lessons. First, that love and destiny are not enemies. When love is true, it strengthens your purpose rather than competes with it. If someone demands you shrink your dream for their comfort, that is not love. It is fear. Real love enlarges you both. Second, that intuition, when nurtured, becomes vision. Santiago's reading of the hawks is not mere superstition, it is alignment with the world. And in our lives too, the more we listen to our bodies, our gut, the subtle signs around us, the more guidance we receive. Together, these lessons remind us that life is not a choice between love and purpose, between reason and intuition. It is a dance where each supports the other, leaving Fatima. And so, fortified by Fatima's blessing and the confirmation of his vision, Santiago knows he must continue. It breaks his heart to leave her, but he does so with a strange peace, because now he understands. Their love is not ending. It is pausing, deepening, waiting. As he rides away from the Oasis with the caravan, he looks back at the palm trees, the wells, and the girl by the water's edge. His heart aches, but it also sings, because he is not abandoning love. He is honoring it, by honoring himself. The desert stretches before him once again, vast and indifferent. But Santiago walks with a lighter step, for he carries with him the memory of Fatima, the strength of true love, and the certainty that when destiny is fulfilled, love will blossom even more. By the way, if you're enjoying this summary, make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Chapter 5. The Alchemist. The desert is not a place for the faint of heart. Days burn with relentless heat, nights bite with cold, and the silence presses against the soul like a weight. Yet for Santiago, the desert is no longer hostile. It is a teacher. Every grain of sand seems alive. Every gust of wind whispers a message. He is beginning to feel that he belongs to the desert, and the desert belongs to him. But destiny still has one more guide waiting for him, the one who will shape his final transformation, the alchemist. The rumor of a master. Among the caravan, whispers circulate of a mysterious man who lives deep in the desert. They say he can turn any metal into gold. They say he has lived for centuries. They say he knows the secrets of the soul. The Englishman, with his heavy books, is desperate to meet him. For Santiago, curiosity is mixed with anticipation. He feels that his journey has been pointing toward this meeting all along. When they finally arrive at another oasis, the Englishman begins searching frantically, asking anyone and everyone about the alchemist. But it is Santiago, not the Englishman, who first encounters the man. The first encounter. The alchemist appears not as a grand figure but as a rider cloaked in the simplicity of the desert. His eyes are sharp, penetrating, as if they see straight through the layers of pretense into the core of the soul. He questions Santiago with directness, almost harshness. Why is he here? What does he seek? When Santiago explains about his dream, the treasure, and the omens he has followed, the alchemist listens, then nods. He recognizes in the boy a student prepared by life itself. What is remarkable about this meeting is the contrast with the Englishman. The Englishman has studied for years but cannot act. Santiago has acted, stumbled, learned, listened. And so the alchemist chooses Santiago, not the Englishman, as his disciple. There is a lesson here. Knowledge without practice is sterile. You can read 100 books about swimming, but you will never learn until you step into water. Santiago, by living, has earned the right to learn more. The lessons of the alchemist. The alchemist takes Santiago under his wing, guiding him through the desert, teaching him not through lectures but through living wisdom. He explains that alchemy is not just about turning lead into gold. It is about transformation, about purifying the self, stripping away the unnecessary, discovering the soul of the world. He tells Santiago, "Listen to your heart. It knows all things because it came from the soul of the world, and it will one day return there." At first, Santiago is confused. How can the heart know? But the alchemist insists. The heart speaks in whispers, in fear, in longing. To ignore it is to betray yourself. To follow it is to align with destiny. This resonates deeply with Santiago. He remembers moments when his heart guided him to sell his sheep, to cross the sea, to trust the omens. Each time he listened, doors opened. Each time he doubted, he stumbled. The alchemist also teaches about fear. The fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, he says. And no heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams. How often is this true in our lives? Think of the job interview you avoided, the love you didn't confess, the risk you didn't take. The fear beforehand was sharper than any pain would have been, and in not acting, you suffered more. The suffering of regret. Santiago begins to see that his greatest enemy is not the desert, not the thieves, not even failure. It is fear. If he can master fear, he can master himself. The power within. One night, under a sky blazing with stars, the alchemist demonstrates his power. He takes a piece of lead, and through a process both symbolic and mysterious, turns it into gold. Santiago watches in awe, but the alchemist smiles and explains, "The act itself is not the point. Gold is simply a symbol of perfection. The real treasure is the transformation of the self. Just as metals are purified by fire, the soul is purified by trials. Just as lead becomes gold, the ordinary self becomes extraordinary through the pursuit of its personal legend." This moment strikes Santiago profoundly. He realizes that his journey is not merely about finding treasure beneath the pyramids. It is about becoming the kind of person capable of such discovery. And perhaps you feel this too. So often we chase external goals, money, recognition, achievement, believing they are the treasure. But the real transformation is internal. The journey changes us. The treasure is not just what we find, but who we become in finding it. The test of faith. As Santiago trains with the alchemist, war in the desert grows fiercer. Tribes clash, tensions rise. One day, they are captured by soldiers who suspect them of espionage. The alchemist, calm and unafraid, tells the soldiers that Santiago can perform a miracle. He can turn himself into the wind. Santiago is shocked, terrified. He has never done such a thing. But the alchemist insists. Here lies one of the most dramatic moments of the book. Santiago must either trust the language of the world, the connection between his soul and the desert, the wind, the sun, or die. For 2 days he prays, meditates, listens, and on the 3rd day, standing on a cliff, he opens his heart to the desert, to the wind, to the sun. He asks them for help. He speaks their language. He surrenders his fear. And then, something extraordinary happens. The desert stirs, the wind rises, the sky darkens, and Santiago dissolves into it, becoming part of the storm, vanishing into the air. When the storm clears, he stands there, transformed, not just in the eyes of the soldiers, but in his own. This scene is breathtaking, not because Santiago literally becomes wind, but because he discovers the truth. He is not separate from the world. He is part of it. His heart, the desert, the wind, the sun, all are threads of the same tapestry. Transformation as treasure. This chapter carries perhaps the deepest lesson of all, that the treasure we seek externally is a mirror of the treasure within. Santiago thinks he is chasing gold, but what he is really uncovering is his own power, his own connection to the universe. We too spend years chasing wealth, titles, approval. But the alchemist reminds us, what matters is whether we become more aligned, more authentic, more alive. Gold will fade. Transformation endures. Toward the pyramids. With the test complete, the soldiers release them, awed and afraid. The alchemist and Santiago continue their journey until they are close to the pyramids. Then the alchemist leaves him, saying, "You are ready now. The rest is yours to discover." It is a bittersweet farewell. Santiago has grown attached to his mentor, but he understands. The true teacher always points you back to yourself. And now, armed with love, with faith, with wisdom, Santiago must face the final steps alone. He looks toward the horizon, where the pyramids rise in his imagination, golden and eternal. His heart beats with fear, with hope, with anticipation. The treasure is near, but even more, he realizes, he has already found something priceless. Chapter 6. The Pyramids and the Revelation. At last, after months of wandering, after betrayal, after love, after miracles, Santiago sees them. The pyramids. They rise from the desert like sleeping giants, golden under the sun, silent and eternal. For centuries they have stood as symbols of mystery, power, and time itself. And now, before them, stands a boy who once herded sheep in the hills of Spain. His heart pounds with awe. Tears blur his vision. Every step, every hardship, every doubt. It has all been leading here. He kneels in the sand and gives thanks to the universe, to the omens, to the desert, to his own heart for guiding him. And then trembling, he begins to dig, digging for treasure. The sand is soft, but the labor is fierce. Hours pass. The sun burns. His hands blister. Still, he digs. Every scoop of sand feels like a scoop of destiny. His heart whispers, "It's here. Keep going." Night falls. The stars ignite above. Still, no treasure. His body aches, but he refuses to stop. He digs with desperation, with hope, with faith. And then disaster. The robbery. A group of men approaches out of the darkness. Soldiers? No. Thieves. Desert scavengers who see in Santiago a foolish boy clawing at the earth. They laugh cruelly. "What are you doing?" they sneer. Santiago, exhausted, blurts the truth. He is searching for treasure. At first they mock him, but then, hungry for gold, they beat him, demand he reveal where it lies. Santiago, bloodied, insists it is buried here. The thieves dig half-heartedly, find nothing, and curse. They beat him again, harder this time. Finally, as they prepare to leave, one of them spits a final insult. "You're a fool. I once had a dream too. In it, I saw a treasure buried under a tree in Spain, in the ruins of a church, but I was not stupid enough to travel across a desert for it. And with that, they vanish into the night, leaving Santiago broken in the sand. The revelation, the words echo in his skull. A tree in Spain, a ruined church, a treasure there. And suddenly, it hits him like a lightning bolt. The treasure was never here, at the pyramids. It was always back where I began. He collapses, laughing and sobbing at once. The irony is brutal and beautiful. He crossed seas, endured betrayal, fell in love, faced death, all to discover that what he sought was waiting at home. But here lies the genius of the story, because the treasure itself is not the point. Had Santiago stayed in Spain, he would never have become the person capable of finding it. The journey was necessary. The deserts, the omens, the love, the fear, all were alchemy, transforming him from shepherd to seeker, from boy to man. The real treasure is not just the chest of gold. It is the wisdom, the strength, the love he now carries, coming full circle. This twist speaks to one of life's deepest truths. How often do we search far and wide for meaning? In jobs, in travels, in relationships, only to discover that what we truly needed was within us all along? It reminds me of the poet T.S. Eliot, who wrote, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." That is Santiago's revelation. The church in Spain, once ordinary, now shines with meaning. Home is not smaller after the journey. It is richer. And for us, the lesson is profound. Yes, chase your dreams, cross your deserts. But know that in the end, the greatest treasure is not somewhere out there. It is the transformation that allows you to see the treasure already in your hands. Returning home, beaten but unbroken, Santiago begins his return. The pyramids, magnificent though they are, no longer hold him. His heart points him west, toward Spain, toward the ruined church where his sheep once slept. The journey back is long, but his spirit is light. He is no longer desperate. He is certain. His heart and the world are one, guiding him step by step. When finally he arrives, he kneels beneath the sycamore tree by the ruined church, the same spot where his dream first appeared. The circle is complete. He digs, his hands trembling, and this time, unlike in the desert, his efforts are rewarded. He finds it, a chest filled with gold coins, jewels, treasures beyond imagination. The dream was true all along. The treasure was real. He laughs, tears falling freely, not because of the wealth, though it is immense, but because of the perfection of it all. The universe kept its promise. He followed his personal legend, and it led him home. The treasure within. What do we make of this ending? On the surface, it feels almost like a trick. All that wandering, only to return where he started? But look deeper, and you see, the journey was essential. If Santiago had dug beneath the tree without leaving Spain, he would have found the gold, but not himself. He would not have learned resilience in Tangier, creativity in the crystal shop, patience in the Caravan, love in the Oasis, courage with the Alchemist. The gold would have been empty in his hands. But because he walked the long road, the treasure now carries meaning. It is not just wealth, it is affirmation. It is proof that the universe speaks, that the heart guides, that dreams are worth pursuing. And perhaps this is the lesson for us too. The treasure you seek, happiness, purpose, love, may already be near. But you cannot see it until you journey. You must risk, fail, endure, and grow. Only then, when you return, do you see the treasure shining where it always was. Looking ahead, Santiago's story does not end here. He has the gold, yes. But more importantly, he has Fatima waiting in the desert, the love who blessed his journey. And so, with joy, he prepares to return to her, carrying not only treasure, but transformation. The shepherd has become the alchemist of his own life. His dream is fulfilled, his heart is whole, and his legend, his personal legend, is alive. Chapter 7. The Treasure and the Journey's Meaning. The ruins of the old Spanish church are quiet, almost sacred in their abandonment. The walls lean with age, stones cracked by time. The sycamore tree stretches its branches wide, its roots digging deep into the earth, the same earth that has been waiting all along for Santiago to return. It is night. The air is cool. Santiago kneels in the soil, hands trembling with exhaustion and anticipation. He begins to dig, just as he once did at the pyramids. But this time, there is no desperation, no fear of failure. His heart is calm, his faith is steady, he knows what lies beneath. And then his spade strikes something solid, the treasure found. With frantic joy, Santiago clears away the dirt. A wooden chest emerges, heavy, ancient, weathered by centuries. He breaks it open, and the moonlight catches on gold coins, jewels, and relics. Treasures of kings, wealth beyond imagination. He laughs aloud, his voice echoing through the ruined church. Tears stream down his face. The dream was real. The omens were true. The universe had not deceived him. But as he clutches the gold, he realizes something astonishing. The treasure in his hands is not the most valuable thing he has gained. It is confirmation, yes, but the real treasure is everything that brought him here. The betrayal in Tangier taught him resilience. The crystal shop taught him creativity and patience. The caravan taught him to listen to silence. Fatima taught him the meaning of true love. The alchemist taught him to master fear and trust his heart. Each trial was a coin of wisdom, more precious than the gold now glittering before him. The chest confirms the truth, but the journey transformed him into someone worthy of it. Coming full circle, it strikes Santiago as almost comical. He crossed deserts, faced death, endured loneliness, only to find the treasure buried under the very tree where his dream began. But he understands now. He could not have seen it then. He needed the journey. He needed to leave, to search, to fail, to love, to grow. Only then could he recognize what was always under his feet. And here lies the novel's ultimate message. Sometimes we must travel far to discover what is near. The treasure was at home, but Santiago was not the same boy who left it. He had to leave to truly return. I think of our own lives here. How often do we search endlessly for happiness, for purpose, for fulfillment, only to realize that the essence of what we sought was with us all along? But we cannot shortcut the journey. We must live it. We must walk the deserts of our own lives to come back and see our tree anew. Reflections on destiny. As Santiago gazes at the gold, he thinks of Melchizedek, the old king who told him about the personal legend. He thinks of the words, "When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." Now he knows it is true, but not in the way he once thought. The universe does not hand us treasure on a silver platter. It conspires by offering omens, opportunities, challenges, teachers, and even betrayals. It conspires by shaping us through difficulty, so that we are prepared when the treasure appears. Destiny is not easy. It is demanding. It asks for sacrifice, but it also rewards with abundance, not only material, but spiritual. Santiago realizes that his personal legend was not just about finding treasure. It was about becoming someone who listens to his heart, who trusts the world, who dares to live fully. The call of love, and then, as his laughter fades into silence, his thoughts turn to Fatima. Her smile, her eyes at the well, her words of faith. She told him to go. She told him real love waits. And she was right. The treasure is not complete until he shares it with her. His destiny is not fulfilled until he returns to the desert, to the oasis, to the woman who became part of his soul. He feels the pull, stronger than the pyramids, stronger even than the gold. His next step is clear. He will return to her. Here, love and destiny merge. He no longer sees them as opposites. The treasure has shown him that purpose and love are not rivals but partners. Love gave him strength to pursue the dream. The dream now gives him strength to return to love, the real treasure. What, then, is the treasure of the alchemist? Yes, there is gold, but that is symbolic. The real treasure is transformation. The real treasure is courage. The real treasure is love aligned with purpose. Santiago's story whispers to each of us, you have a personal legend too. You may ignore it, but your heart will never forget it. You may postpone it, but life will not let it vanish. The omens are around you. The question is whether you will listen. And remember, the treasure may not be where you think. It may be closer. It may even be at home. But you must still take the journey to see it clearly. That is the paradox of destiny. You must leave to return. You must risk to gain. You must surrender to receive. Closing the circle. Dawn approaches. Santiago gathers the gold, secures the chest, and sits quietly beneath the sycamore tree. The first light touches the church walls, painting them gold. He feels peace. Not the restless peace of a shepherd tending sheep, but the deep peace of a man who has followed his heart and discovered himself. He whispers a prayer of gratitude for the omens, for the desert, for the teachers, for the love that awaits him. And then he rises, ready to return to the desert, ready to embrace Fatima, ready to live the rest of his life not as a seeker but as a man who has found. As the journey is complete, but also eternal. Because for Santiago, and for us, the pursuit of the personal legend never truly ends. Each dream fulfilled reveals another. Each treasure found awakens a deeper treasure within. And so, beneath the ancient tree, the boy who became a shepherd, who became a seeker, who became an alchemist of his own soul, smiles at the horizon. The world is alive, the omens are everywhere, and the treasure, the true treasure, is always waiting for those who dare to follow their hearts. And so, Santiago's journey ends where it began, beneath a quiet tree in Spain, with treasure at his feet and wisdom in his heart. He set out chasing gold, but he returned with something far greater, the courage to follow his dream, the strength to master fear, and the love that makes life whole. But this story is not only his, it is yours, because somewhere inside you too, there is a dream that refuses to die, a personal legend that whispers in the silence, waiting for you to listen. The question is not whether the treasure exists. The question is, will you take the first step? So, close your eyes, listen to your heart, and remember, when you truly want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs this wisdom.